Welcome to the Wolverine TV. I'm Clayton Sayfie with EJ Holland. We are from thewolverine.com. Make sure to head over to thewolverine.com. We have a promo going on right now. The offer ends at kickoff on Saturday night at 7:30. But you can get your first year subscription to Rivals and the Wolverine for just $12, $1 a month, savings of $87. So use that promo code UM12FOR1, UM12 for 1. I'll go and do that right now. This is the Wolverine recruiting show. EJ is with me, like I mentioned. As you can see, he is headed to Arizona to see Michigan defensive line commit Quentin Somerville and Michigan 2022 quarterback target Nico Marchial. So EJ, excited for a big trip out to the dry heat, the desert?
Yeah, it's gonna be funny. I was talking to my wife and I was like, I'm gonna wear like a full-on jacket onto the plane because it's gonna be 40 and raining in Chicago tomorrow. And then so hopefully my flight takes off on time. And then I'm gonna land in Arizona and it's gonna be 95 degrees. I'm gonna to strip everything off and change the bathroom or something. So but no, I'm excited. I've seen Quentin Somerville in person before, but not on this beat. I actually saw him when he was younger, and I was out at Saguaro seeing Keely Ringo's now at Georgia. So, yeah, it's been a long while since I've seen Somerville. So excited to get a new look at him.
Yeah, so we'll be on the lookout for all that coverage. I will be out here tonight at Rayshaun Benny's game, Oak Park against Clarkston. You see Rayshaun Benny pictured there behind EJ, but he just pushed back his commitment. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, we'll talk about the new Michigan commit. 2021 Rivals 100 linebacker Branden Jennings out of Jacksonville, former Florida State commit. He's the number 52 player in the country. This one moved quick last week, ended with a commitment on Friday, EJ. But, I mean, Michigan had Casey Finney, and we've talked about his decommitment about a month and a half ago at this point. They lose a linebacker. We talked about how they're still fine at the linebacker spot. Maybe look for one or two more. Branden Jennings now in the fold, and that is an absolute upgrade at that spot. No offense to Casey Finney, but Branden Jennings just seems to be a really good player.
Yeah, I think Jennings is an obvious upgrade over Casey Finney. We talked a lot about Jennings on the last show, so we won't spend too much time on him. But obviously, a big commitment for Michigan. Might be their best recruiting win. Not necessarily as far as talent goes, although he is a top 100 national player, but just the recruiting process, the way they won that recruitment was probably the most impressive job they've done all year. I mean, as soon as Jennings decommitted from Florida State, there was an idea that he was just going to go to Miami, where his brother plays, where he's visited a couple of times this season. Obviously, the pandemic's ongoing and the dead period's ongoing, but he got family tickets, so he's been to a couple of Miami games. And then Michigan was able to win it. Brian G. Mary, Don Brown, and all those guys did a really fantastic job with Jennings. And so they were able to close the deal as far as him as a player. I think, like I said, he's a massive upgrade over Finney. He's going to fill that will spot, and he's a headhunter. He's a guy that loves to smash people, but he's also athletic. He can move in space. He's going to be a great fit at that spot and could really play early on in his career at Michigan.
Yeah, a huge win. You say he likes to smash people. Don Brown will love that because Don Brown says smash everything that moves, and he seems like that type of player. So, and like we said, if you're going to do the comparison game with Casey Finney, obviously a huge upgrade to get a Rivals 100 guy over a 3-star like Finney. But the linebacker spot looks incredible with Jadon Hood, Junior Colson, Tyler McLaurin, and now with Branden Jennings. So you have quite a bit of talent there in the class of 2021. And hats off to Brian Jean Mary for winning those guys over. I mean, he's a new coach, but had some hands in those recruitments. Let's talk about the obvious bit of news. The guy behind you, Rayshaun Benny, Rivals 100 defensive tackle out of Oak Park. I mentioned I'll be out there tonight to see him and talk to him. He was set to commit October 25th, which is Sunday, just days away. And it looked like a possible Michigan State battle, with Kentucky being the dark horse and Penn State being the outlier. Those were his 4 finalists. Then he tweets the other day, I will not be committing October 25th. I'm going to focus on my season. He has one game left here, which is tonight in the regular season, and then every team in Michigan makes the playoffs. So probably less about that and more about maybe not knowing. Our Austin Fox was out talking to him last week at his game, and he said, "Yeah, I thought I kind of knew where I was going, and now I'm starting to hesitate and have some second thoughts." So maybe he wants to check out the seasons that his finalists are going to have, wait a few weeks, see the product on the field, especially for a team like Michigan State breaking in a new head coach. What are your thoughts on Benny saying he's going to commit and then pulling back and saying, hey, I'm going to take my time here?
Yeah, so I think with Benny, obviously he, pushed things back and just wasn't sure. Um, it's kind of what we've seen this cycle with George Rooks, Drew Kendall. So not necessarily a huge surprise if he would have made a pick. I think it would have been Michigan. It was the safe pick. I think that's where he was leaning, but I don't think he was 100% sure. And Benny was always the kid that said, I want to make visits. And he didn't get to make visits with the ongoing dead period. So we'll see. I still think Michigan is in a good spot to land him. I still think they can close the deal, especially with Sharon Moore really heavily involved with the entire coaching staff, making a big push. He has a good pre-existing relationship with Sean Nua. But, Michigan State has sold him a lot on building his brand there, being a part of a new rise in the Michigan State program. I think he wants to see what they do early in the season. But, Michigan plays Michigan State next weekend. So I feel like that could be a big boost for Michigan. And then, Kentucky has so many connections to Oak Park and their head coach Greg Carter, and they landed Justin Rogers there from last cycle. So I've always said Kentucky really scares me, and they still do. So I feel like like I said, Michigan's still in a good spot, but honestly, it wouldn't be surprising if it goes either way.
Yeah, it's interesting because, when I talked to him a few weeks back and I said, what are your thoughts? I know you were upset about the dead period being extended. I know you wanted to take some visits. What are your thoughts? And he said, well, now that it looks like I possibly will never be able to take, visits and actually get on campus and talk to coaches and be inside a football building, that I just want to get it over with. Obviously, the mindset changed. Something changed, whether that was, a school coming on strong at the end or just him being indecisive. But you don't put him, though, in the George Rooks, Drew Kendall category, do you? I guess not yet, right?
No, not yet. I mean, I think those guys, Rooks and Kendall, really share a similar personality. I think Benny's always just been kind of unsure. And I think he, like he has always said, he really, really wanted to make those visits. And when that didn't happen, I think it really changed the dynamics of his recruitment. I think the other guys never really cared about making visits, and they just shared the same um, like I said, they shared very similar personalities. I wouldn't put Benny in that category. I still think he wants to kind of check some of the boxes and see what happens. But like I said, him pushing back his decision doesn't mean it's a death sentence for Michigan. Michigan's still very high on his list.
Definitely. So we will keep an eye on that. I'll talk to him tonight here and see what exactly he has to say. Hopefully he'll be willing to talk and, provide a little bit of clarity on what exactly went into that decision. I will say, if he keeps pushing it back and he wants to continue to do a commitment ceremony at his school at the football field, it's going to be pretty darn cold here coming up. So, but we'll keep an eye on Rayshaun Benny's recruitment as it goes forward, and we'll see what happens with that. The last thing, we've alluded to it on this show, you've alluded to it, and you were the first to report that Michigan's commits and some targets, as we're continuing to learn, are going to try to get together on November 14th for the Michigan-Wisconsin game in Ann Arbor. And they can't go to the game, but they could watch it somewhere, maybe at a restaurant, rent out a room or something like that, and all get together, get to know each other. I mean, a lot of these guys have never met. We hear about the group chat so much, and I guess that's kind of the way of the world right now. But they could actually meet each other in person, start forming those in-person bonds, as well as some targets. And a notable one that we found out just days ago that you reported, EJ, will be joining them at that visit. Checking out Ann Arbor is California defensive back Damani Jackson, 5-star, huge target in 2022 for Michigan. So, just what does that mean for Michigan that he is taking on his own dime, coming to Michigan? I know he has the Midwest connections, but a really good sign here for one of the top players in the entire country.
Yeah, it's huge news, especially with all the commits being on campus. Well, not all of them, some of them will be in the playoffs still, so they won't all be able to get there. I know, Michigan playoffs will still be going on, so we'll see who's still in it. Some guys started their seasons late, so like Quinn Somerville will still be playing as well. So not every commit will be there, but a good amount, including Rivals 100 quarterback commit JJ McCarthy. And then Tyler Martin, who's going to be a vocal leader for the 2022 class, will be there as well. And so it's huge for Damani Jackson to go and spend some time with those guys. It's going to be his first look at Michigan. So even though he won't be able to go to the game, he'll be able to get a vibe for the guys going to Michigan, for the campus, for the town of Ann Arbor. Michigan's always been his dream school. His entire family still lives in Ohio, in the Dayton area. His dad grew up a Michigan fan. So that's big for Michigan to get Damani on campus, even though it's not a real visit. I mean, for him to pay his own way to go to Michigan, I think speaks volumes, especially during a pandemic where it's not a real visit. So, I think that it's absolutely huge news. Michigan's a real contender to land Damani, who might be my top overall guy that I've seen in the entire country.
What do you think overall, in including the commits, that weekend is going to do? Because, it seems like with the unique nature of this year that you just aren't getting kids for other schools and groups of commits together in person and on the campuses. And like you mentioned, some of those guys have never been to campus. It can help solidify some of those guys' commitments. From an overall standpoint, I guess, what is this weekend going to do for Michigan football recruiting?
Yeah, like you said, I think it just helps solidify some commitments. I think Xavier Worthy, Christian Dixon plan on being there. Both of those guys are early enrollees that have never been to campus, that live very, very far away from Ann Arbor. So I know they're excited to get a look at Michigan and check it out. I think it puts, more importantly, I think it puts the parents at ease. The parents will be joining the commit, so they'll get to mingle with some of the other parents in the class, and they'll get their first look at Michigan. So I think that might be even bigger than the kids, especially guys with like single moms. Both Worthy and Dixon both have very strong moms, and so I know I met with both of them when I was out in California last month, and both really, really want to see Michigan. So I just think it puts some of those concerns at ease. And, having a guy like Damani and potentially some other targets, I think it could really help with where Michigan's position in some of those recruitments.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a big weekend. They won't quite get the game day vibe. It's going to be weird because it'll be kind of eerily quiet outside, and even, before a game when they're warming up, and usually there's people tailgating and things like that. It won't be that vibe, but obviously understandable in a year like this. And it's good to, for Michigan, that they're going to have those guys on campus and at least know that they're just down the street watching from, whatever restaurant or whatever like that. So huge weekend, November 14th for Michigan. EJ out in Arizona this weekend, checking out Quinton Somerville. Nico Martial, I will be checking out Rayshaun Benny go up against Clarkston, our favorite Notre Dame commit, Rocco Spindler, and Garrett Dellinger, LSU offensive line commit as well. So it should be fun stuff here. Keep it locked at thewolverine.com. Use that promo code UM12 for 1, UM12FOR1 to get all of that premium content for a year for just $12. But we'll see everybody next time here on the Wolverine TV.